some struggles that you've seen when it came to opening up a gym?
Oh man, this one's a huge laundry list.
If you had the time, I'd love to hear every single one, but if you can only think maybe like top two biggest ones.
We'll start with the top two, and then I think I'll remember like 20 others. So just the first one that comes to my mind is the amount of things that you're not taught in school. And it doesn't matter. Like you can go to like take as many years of business school or marketing that you wanted. There's still going to be things they just don't teach you. Like even now, we're still learning new things. And just to give you an example, you have to have a different business license for every city you operate out of, even if it's in the same state. Can we get a sign on our building? Da, da, da. And they're like, no, you don't have a business license. I'm like, yes, I do. Here it is. And they're like, no, that's the other business license. You have to get this business license. I'm like, what? And then, so I called the city and I'm like, hey, how do I get this business license? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Nobody knows that you have to have this license in. And then there's like 20 different other licenses that you need that nobody teaches you that you need. And it was this really long, stupid process that took like 4 months just to receive approval to put a sign on our building. There's also the building inspector process. So if you get like, a really tough building inspector and he comes through and looks at it and says like, oh, your obstacles are made of wood. Well, it looks like you got to install sprinkler systems, like these are little things that you'd never like think about, unless you're in that situation. I know that some gyms like really got hurt hard. Fortunately, we were able to kind of like convince this guy like, hey, our foam pit blocks are flame retardant, like you don't need to worry about anything. And, but I do know that there are some gyms that had to go through like, the painful process of like, they'll walk in there and they'll see like a warp wall and be like, oh, is that reinforced with steel I-beams? And we're like, no, you don't understand our sport. Like, but if you budget everything out, there's always something that's way more expensive than you thought it would have been. And for us at this new location, the sign for the building, like the cheapest thing we could afford for a sign on our building was around, I think it was like $8,000. And we're like, oh, we never budgeted $8,000 for getting a sign above our door, And so little stuff like that, I think makes the process a little stressful. And then taxes are always annoying. No matter how well you think you did your taxes or how well you think your CPA did their job, you still get slapped with something at the end of the year. I think there was 1 year where we didn't owe anything, which was amazing, but still almost every other year, like regardless of how much money you pay in taxes, you probably still owe more for some reason. Those are the two biggest ones, I think, just because those are outliers that like are so unpredictable, at least for me.